I think testing a card that's as broken as Ancient Stirrings and Affinity probably has merit. Playing good cards in a good deck seems fine. I mean, the Leyline Bug didn't, like, ultimately have that much of an impact. Like, we played through those pretty quickly. Like, it's not like we stopped playing decks, we just played other things. I hate everything. Lantern. Do do do. Hey, Jade Kit. Thanks for the 2-month free subscription. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Do I want to play this match? Does this deck have tools to beat Lantern Control? I guess Teferi's pretty good here, right? Like, we definitely didn't have good tools in that opener, but I think we have tools in the 75 to potentially win this matchup. Rune Talo also gets the name Codex Shredder, which is nice. So I think this could potentially be fine. Elspeth seems fine too. Trim these helixes. Trim the Supreme Verdicts for sure. Clique is probably okay. Clique lets me turn a card into another card potentially. Yeah, not having Stony Silence is pretty normal for these decks. I think we have 4 Cryptic Commands too. I'm gonna play it out. I think we have a lot of good tools. I conceded that first game because, like, they were getting pretty well set up and, like, we didn't have tools that were good in the matchup. Yeah, like a handful of Path to Exiles and Supreme Verdicts is not worth keeping there, obviously. But I think post board and, like, knowing what we're playing on, like, it's funny, like, we were talking about humans and green black and, like, why humans is a good deck in the format the other night on Discord, and it's funny, I was like, I have never lost to humans while playing green black rock online, but I've also never beaten them game 1. Like, decks like Jeskai and green black, you're gonna lose a lot of game 1s where you just keep a hand like we did that last game, and it just doesn't line up against whatever your opponent's doing. You're just gonna have that really hard wrong half problem, basically. What's going on, Arcanio? Good morning. How'd the Assault Loam go last night? It was really medium. Really medium. Modern needs Force of Will. I don't think that's true. Force of Will's, like, not even that good against a lot of things. Like I like how I talked about never having beat humans game 1, and you're like, we need Force of Will against the Cavern of Souls Aether Vial deck. Like, Force of Will doesn't fix a lot of problems that these decks have. Like, one of this archetype's worst matchups is Dredge. Force of Will does fuck all against Dredge. It kind of helps versus combo. Like, combo decks aren't the problem by and large in Modern. Like, decks like humans do a really good job of keeping combo decks in check without needing something like Force of Will. This is their best start. I'd like to draw a land. I'm going to just hit our land drops here. And these scries aren't particularly useful because my opponent has a Codex Shredder here. Force could be okay against Hallowed One. The problem is that, like, by the time Hallowed One's cheating things into play, you're, like, they've already, like, disrupted your hand a lot of the time. Yep. Gonna fetch with this in response. They're probably naming Teferi here, but classic Moto. So we're probably just gonna. Oh, I wonder if I was supposed to shock this in. Yeah, I think that was a mistake. I think I was supposed to shock and cast the Snapcaster Mage here. I think I was supposed to shock and cast the Snapcaster. So, yeah, like I would have attacked into 18, and then I would have been putting 3 tokens into play here. So basically, at this point, we just need to try and keep a bridge off the table. So they grabbed another lock piece here, but we can just like make things and then start attacking them. Yeah, I agree. The secure seems good, and because they have this Grafdigger's Cage, I should have had the Snapcaster Mage in play already. There's a needle on Teferi here for those that are going to be wondering here in a minute why I'm not slamming the Teferi. What's going on, Trax? The Collective Brutality is really good here. Just gonna let them poke through my my Cryptic Command. That's interesting, maybe. I don't know, I think the correct answer is supposed to play this on 2, but after I didn't play it on 2, was it correct to just... Yeah, that's interesting. Alright, they have no cards in their hand. They have Pithing Needle on top. We're going to fire up this Colonnade and bash them. I wonder if I was supposed to just play the Snapcaster in response to that brutality there. Eldrazi for life with the 3-month resubscription. Thank you very much and welcome back. I appreciate the continued support. This is the only attack this Colonnade's going to get in, so let's get it in here. Yeah, so like, if I had played Snapcaster Mage, we'd have hit them 3 times with it, so they'd be dead next turn now. If I'd have played better. Instead, they're going to get like a bunch more looks at cards, so they're going to control the top of their deck here. So that wrong play on turn 2 could cost us this game. We'll see. We're not guaranteed to lose it yet, but we are currently in a bad position because I didn't play my Snapcaster Mage on 2. What's going on, Justin? They just have to mill themselves aggressively here. They need a bridge. Field of Ruin is nice. Field of Ruin lets me make them shuffle. I'm going to put this in because putting them to 2 means they're dead to an Electrolyze or a Lightning Bolt here. I'm not flashing back this Electrolyze because there's a Grafdigger's Cage in play, because that's going to be a question someone's going to ask in a second. Ancient Stirrings, yep. So they're gonna get a lot of fucking looks here. They're gonna get a lot of looks. And again, I missed 8 points of damage this game. And they're gonna end this game at 2 most likely. So the Stirrings gives them 5 looks. This gives them 6, 7, 8 looks. So if there's not a bridge on top of their deck here. Whoa, that's aggressive. I guess this gives them looks. They probably don't have many bridges and they're digging for a whir here. Okay, I'll bet you they boarded down to like 1 bridge. They don't have enough mana to Inventor's Fair and crack it. So they have to Pixis that away. Alright, do they take the Ancient Stirrings at this point? They do. Okay. Alright. Survey says, did my punt cost me the game? Yep. My punt cost me the game. Alright, so that game was winnable. That game was winnable if I would have played the Snapcaster Mage correctly on 2. And again, that just comes down to like identifying. I could have fetched there, you're right, and given myself a chance at. I had one Electrolyze and one Bolt in my deck. That game comes down to misassessing my role and not realizing what my resources should have been doing. Oh yeah, that's true. I had Cryptic Command and stuff too. Yeah, I definitely should have taken a look there. They had one thing up. They had one thing up. And I mean, like, and that's a big part of why Lantern Control. Take that TD Bank sub still roll. Let's go down, Dirt Stir. Thanks for the 5-month resubscription. No, Enduring Ideal got pushed back to the second league today. Friends and I were discussing the roll on maximum hand size the other day, and we were talking about the ramifications of removing the roll. I don't know. I think talking about stuff like that's mostly a waste of time, so I don't bother doing it. Like, it has no bearing on my ability to, like, play Magic or get better at playing Magic. Doesn't seem particularly interesting to me. I think that game was a good example of, like, why, like, I think a lot of the games, the decks, like, that the barber shops or Lantern, whatever Justin wants to call it this week, are good is because, like, people are just bad at playing against it, or, like, misidentify their role a lot, and people, like, have very little desire to practice against Lantern Control, so, like, they're not incentivized to practice and get better, because it's just, like, such misery incarnate. And again, this is another matchup where we're the beatdown, so I'm gonna go ahead and flash in the Snapcaster Mage. Also worth noting here that, like, we have Supreme Verdict and Bath Exile against the Valakut deck. Like, feels real bad, man. I cast a Primeval Titan next turn and I'm gonna concede. My sympathy to Democracy for losing to Lantern. I mean, I didn't get beat by Lantern. I beat myself, right? I could have beaten Lantern Control if I'd have played a little better there. So I'm gonna Field of Ruin their Valakut here in response to this, so that way they can't kill my Snapcaster. I always find it really funny when people, like, we play decks like what we're playing against today, and people are like, man, why are we hitting all the miserable decks? It's like, these are just modern decks. These are the... I feel like Modern's the format where there are, like, 50 decks that are competitive, and everybody hates all of them. None of them are any fun, and they're all terrible, and we hate playing against all of them. TCG players. Obstinate Baloth. Huh. That's... Alright, let's target for our Path to Exile, I guess. We're going on a tour of the no-fly list this league, right? Shit. What's going on, Camwell? It's a decent one. Again, we've drawn 2 Supreme Verdicts. We'd be much better off if these were cards that had text boxes, but alas, here we are. There were Logic Knots, or more Cryptic Commands, or Snapcaster Mages. I'm not going to bluff anything here. Someone's going to comment that we should hold up a land to bluff. Our opponent's playing Valakut Titan. They're not going to play around to bluff. They're just going to slam their cards until we die. So there's 0 point in bluffing, because they're just going to slam their bombs if they have them. They have a biggity bomb. We are going to die. And again, if you're gonna play a deck like this, you have to be willing to give up a lot of game ones, because you're gonna lose a lot of game ones. I think I'm supposed to board in Rune Talo here. I don't know, Omni. I think bouncing the Snapcaster is playing to not lose. We have to actually kill them. Like, if I had a second clock, I'd agree that I'd snap off bouncing the Snapcaster Mage, but without a way to actually attack them other than the Snapcaster. So the reason why Rune Talo is kind of mediocre in this matchup is that we need our creatures to actually kill our opponent. So, like, if we Rune Talo Valakut, they just, like, kill our board and then eventually draw an answer to Rune Talo and kill us. That's most of the format, Q. Like, there are so many people that profess to, like, love everything that is modern that then just, like, bitch about those things you're saying people bitch about, which is just, like, a good portion of the format. Rune Talo is fine. I think it's a good card in general. I don't think it's particularly amazing in this matchup. I don't know. I think having a non-zero amount of linear decks in the format that are competitive is good. I think Legacy is actually part of what Legacy makes really dry right now is the fact that, like, all of the decks that are, like, interesting combo decks are by and large just, like, really terrible and unplayable in the format. Like, one of the things that's great about Modern is that while there are decks like that are fairly linear, like, we also have fair decks that are moderately competitive too. So, like, you get both sides of it as opposed to Legacy where it's very focused. Lots of Magic cards are expensive. Magic's a very expensive game to play. Okay, my third is land here. Just gonna go ahead and snap this Serum Visions. Colony Heart Expedition's an interesting one. I haven't seen that for a while out of their deck. Give me the market for both of these. Yeah, I'm going to ship both of them, actually. I would rather have an untapped land. And the third Logic Knot kind of has diminishing returns. Needs more Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic would be sweet in this archetype. 10 out of 10. Yeah. Hand's a little cryptic, but it's got a lot going on. And again, like, this is part of the problem with this matchup for us, is that they're gonna just play 6 mountains out and, like, slowly motor us down with this Valakut, and I just actually can't really kill them. Like, I have these cryptic commands, but, like, this is gonna 6 me, right? Or it's gonna kill my thing and then deal 3 to me. Resolves. So Hank, I think we might have. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we spooked him. Shh. We spooked him. So, for those that aren't familiar, if you bounce a mountain when they only have exactly 6 mountains, you only take 3 damage. So, if they would have scape shifted for 7 lands there, they would have only dealt 3 to us. I mean, our hand is kind of okay, but, like, again, like, are, we just can't actually kill them, right? Like, none of our stuff attacks. If we do draw anything that attacks, they're gonna just, like, play a mountain and kill it. Why does stuff like that happen? Can you explain? Because it goes back to, we talked about intervening if clauses again yesterday as well. Valakut is what's called an intervening if clause, which what that refers to is Valakut as a card, its trigger checks to see that its conditions are met when the trigger goes on the stack, but also when the trigger resolves. No, you'll take 3. So the reason why you take 3 is, so if you scape shift for a Valakut plus 6 mountains, 6 Valakut triggers will go on the stack. If you bounce a mountain in response to all of those Valakut triggers, 5 of those triggers go, hey, there's only 4 other mountains in play because 1 mountain got bounced back to their hand. But the one that put the trigger on the stack that you bounced to their hand, that trigger goes, oh, there were 5 mountains other than the one that put this trigger on the stack, so I'm still good to resolve. My condition's still met. But the other 5 triggers, their conditions are no longer met because there's only 4 other mountains in play for them. I don't think I want more lands. And again, just like, I just like, you would think, like, my hand has 5 counter spells in it and a bunch of cryptic commands. Like, this should be the nut, right? This should be everything I want out of life in a matchup like this. Counter check. Hey, glad to catch you live. Thanks for all the awesome content I watch every day. All the subscription money towards Dealer's Choice every time. Well, thank you for the very generous tier 3 sub. I really appreciate that support. And thanks for letting me throw it on a Dealer's Choice. Thanks for help keeping me employed, Andre. I really appreciate it. Welcome back. I think it's counter plus bounce this Valakut. I don't think we can win at this point, but I would like to play this game out because I think it's like a good example of like why the Valakut deck is very good against decks like what we're playing. I think it's just like a very, very good like textbook example of, did I forget to play a land last turn? I might have forgotten to play a land last turn. Yeah, I'm a liar. I'm just going to concede. Because like even if I draw a Rune Talo, they have Reclamation Sage. They have... we can't actually really kill them because like the Celestial Colonnade is the only way that we can have to attack. And if they leave up Colony Garden, they can even kill that. So the first match loss in this league, the loss to Lantern, I definitely could have won the second game if I would have taken a better line on the early game. But that matchup's just rancid for our archetype. It's like our tools do not line up well into what they're doing. Flashfreeze is quite literally for the matchup we just played as well as Burn. We'll see if we can get the 3-2. I'm actually going to wait on the Serum Visions because I don't know what they're playing yet. And like I already have 3 lands line up. Now, the problem with Lantern Control wasn't that their game plan lines up well. It's the fact that I fucked up. That's one of the things that makes it really difficult for TCG players to get better. Because TCGs have variance by design, it's very easy to just write off every time you lose as that matchup was bad, or I got unlucky, or they drew well, or X, or Y, or Z. There's so many variables that you can point to when playing a game of Modern that are, or a game of Magic, or TCG in general, that are like, there are so many reasons that are not you why you lost a given game of Magic. And while I think there are going to be some of those, like against that Valakut deck, I think we were pretty fucked regardless of what we did. And it's tough to be able to pull out those games where you're fucked regardless of what you did and you did make good choices versus those ones where like, well, I could have played my Snapcaster Mage on turn 2 and ultimately if I would have done that, I would have won the race effectively. And being able to figure out those differences is one of those points where you really kind of level up as a TCG player. And I don't really know a good way to help people get past that jump. It's not even just about, you know, it's about being able to like identify like what is within your control and what isn't. It's definitely, I think that's definitely one of the hardest things to do. This is Jeskai control. The variance aspect makes it hard. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and it's tough too because like the lantern control game is another good example of like why it's difficult is like I lost the entire game. Aggie, thank you for the bits. That's good. I appreciate the support. And Gwynethan, thank you for all the great content. Love the way you interact with chat. Thank you for the quarter of your support. Welcome back. I think I'm going to double bottom bolts. I think Marsh Flats indicates they could be something controlling. It's not even just about being humble. It's just like it takes a skill to recognize when you need to be humble. Like it's hard to be humble when it can be difficult to identify what you need to be humble about. An extra Father's Day present. Thank you, XO Armstrong, for the bits. And Miru1990, thank you for the brand new Twitch Prime support. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff out there. Thanks for supporting mine this month. Sorry, my comment about the barbershops match again, though. And this is one of the things that makes it really hard to identify when you fuck up in TCG games, is that, like, the thing that cost me the entire game in the barbershops matchup, the game 2 that we played, was that I played the wrong card on turn 3. Like, that game ended on turn 12, but the decision that ultimately lost me the game was one I made on turn 3. And it's very easy to like pigeonhole and focus on the decisions you made in the later turns because they're fresh in your mind, when in reality, a lot of the times the decisions you make that cost you to lose the games are ones that happen very early in a lot of games of Magic. There's a very, very big snowball style of effect. Yeah, could be an Esper Gifts, Esper Goryo maybe. I must admit that you've helped me take that skill, not just MTG, but other games I do too, whether it's Pug or Hearthstone or something else. I really evaluate my own play a lot more. Yeah, like that's definitely like the way you have to approach it, right? Because like you can never control the outcomes of like what your opponents are doing, but like what you do and the way you react to things. It's like what's that life quote? You can't control what happens to you, but you can control the way you react to it. Like that definitely very much applies to what goes on in TCGs. Yeah, that as well, Arvance, I agree. Like, there's definitely going to be games like, you know, variance by design. There's going to be games where you made a lot of great decisions, and you should be happy with how you played, but it's tough to be happy with how you played because even though you made what are reasonably correct choices, you didn't ultimately get the result that you wanted. I should stand up. I shouldn't start sitting down. I'm old and lazy and fat. Ugh. Celestial Colonnade, alright. Snapping back the Inquisition. This is fine. I just get to Electrolyze their Snapcaster and them next turn. So we have Field of Ruin plus a second Snap on top of our deck here, or third Snap technically. So, yeah, almost certainly losing that. Again, another matchup where Supreme Verdict is pretty rancid, but at least they probably have equally rancid cards in their hand and deck, which is nice. Yeah, and that's a good way to approach it, Jotra. Like you should even when you win games, you should look back on them and reflect and be like, did I make optimal decisions here? Were there things I could have done differently? Like just because you won the game doesn't mean you made mistakes. Just because you lost the game doesn't necessarily mean you made mistakes. Just because you won the game doesn't mean you played it perfectly. All right, well, I take back what I said about Supreme Verdict being dead. I guess I'm just casting this, right? I think I'm like okay cashing in. Do you have a dad sweater to wear? That's a funny idea. All right, yeah, I'm just gonna Wrath here. I could attack with the Snapcaster Mage to try and get an appointed damage, but they're gonna block, so I'm just gonna save myself the clicks. Yeah, and like, it kind of feels bad to kill our own Snapcaster there, but like, remember that Snapcaster Mage cast the Serum Visions on too, so like, it basically replaced itself. Happy early Father's Day, Calhones. Thank you for the bits. I appreciate that. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Well, if they don't have a counter spell, we can Helix, Snap Helix. Yeah, if I would have End Step Snap. The problem with End Step Snap is End Step Snap exposes us to removal spells in addition to counter spells. So I think only losing to a counter spell is better than losing to a removal spell too. What do you think has to be the silliest matchup in Modern? Is it very hard for both decks to interact with each other? I don't know. I don't really think there's any matches like that. Most of the decks that can't interact are just like race and kill each other. Azargast with the brand new Twitch Prime support. Thank you very much. I know there's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch right now. Thanks for supporting mine this month. It's very possible that on my turn 5, I should have just Field of Ruined their Celestial Colonnade. Just to like get another planes into play. More democracy for this log control match. Thanks, Ginger Chief. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. Everyone's having a good Thursday morning. So I will, unfortunately, not be on tomorrow morning. I'm doing something with Declan in the morning, and then there is GP Vegas coverage tomorrow afternoon, so I don't really want to stream against a Modern Grand Prix. I think I have convinced the wife to let me stream tomorrow night, though. So I think we're going to do a post. We're going to do a post Grand Prix Magic stream. Yeah, I think I might do some Hex tomorrow afternoon, Pikes. I don't like streaming Magic against the Grand Prix, but streaming Hex or Hearthstone would be fine. So I might do an Immortal Gauntlet tomorrow afternoon. I do watch your YouTube uploads, and you're the dad Twitch chat needs, so you have my sub. Well, thank you, Zargast. I'm glad you enjoy the YouTube stuff. Welcome to a live one. It's unfortunate that we are through both our Electrolyzes already. So the problem, Camwell, is that the numbers are like really bad, regardless of what format I'm streaming while there's a Modern Grand Prix going on. Like even when there's like a Pro Tour streaming limited, my numbers are going to be bad when I stream against it. So I drafted an arena deck in Hearthstone because it was free to do, but I have not played any games with it yet. Yep. So I have one more Verdict. I have one more Snapcaster Mage. I have 0 Electrolyzes. These spirits are actually in a pretty good spot against us with the amount of tools that we've gone through already. Yeah, so many of the new lands are just such fantastic artwork. Is there a point to countering the spirit flashback? I don't think so. I think I can hit a piece of spot removal, especially if I hit like a Helix. If I hit like a Helix, their clock is pretty slow. Am I streaming Sunday? I feel like you have to play a deck with Dad Chad. Maybe. I have to see. So, GP Vegas is on the wrong coast time zone. So, I might stream a little bit. I did get my gold pack. I might stream a little bit Saturday and Sunday morning. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if the kids are awake and how they're behaving. I think I just try and block here. There's a good chance they have a Fatal Push or a Path because this is game 1. Which this does mean I'm not going to have Logic Not up, which is going to give them a window to stick a thing. So, if they have a thing here, this is kind of conceding, but I really think I just need to like try and get through their stuff. Hopefully they're just like sitting on a bunch of like paths and discard spells and shit. We have a Liliana the Veil. I tap black. Yeah, that's pretty unbeatable. Guess we'll take a draw at Teferi, but even with Teferi, we're gonna be in a pretty bad spot. The Liliana the Veil put this on Goryopox. Thank you, Velik. 10 out of 10. Yeah. The Liliana the Veil gives me a little bit of information because I think that likely I think Liliana the Veil's fine in a Snapcaster deck. The Liliana the Veil tells me that my opponent likely doesn't have much counter magic in their deck, which is a valuable piece of information. Oh, I shouldn't bring in. I was gonna bring in the Clique, but I shouldn't bring in the Clique because it's really terrible against Lingering Souls. Let's not do that. Trim these Path to Exiles. These Dispels are great. I think these verdicts are kind of medium. I don't think the clicks are good enough. What do we think of? I guess Stroke is probably fine. I think 3 sweepers plus Electrolyze is probably plenty to keep. Purge does hit Liliana. I think Purge for Liliana is narrow. Thank you for the bits, Foxkilla. I've played a lot of Flashfreeze. I like Flashfreeze. It's good against Valakut Titan and it's good against Burn. Give me the football emotes, plus I need to get another bit badge. Thank you for the support, Cletus. Do I want to leave Path in? I guess I don't have a lot of good answers to opposing Colonnades without Path. They had Celestial Colonnade on their side of the table too, so that means Purge. If they had Tar Pit, I would bring in the Purge, I think, but I think just Liliana makes it too narrow. I haven't seen a deck list anywhere with Sylvan Awakening plus Jeskai Ascendancy, and I don't understand what problem the Jeskai Ascendancy deck has that playing Sylvan Awakening solves. Jeskai Boyd, were you not here for our second game? We got completely destroyed by Red Green Valakut. That matchup is very bad for this archetype. It's very, very bad for this archetype. I'm going to keep this in a control matchup. So I get to make my first 6 land drops. This hand doesn't give a shit about Inquisition, which is great too. Yep. So, as someone who spent a lot of time registering a lot of mid-range and control decks in the format, please be Inquisition, please. Yeah! Gotcha! These are my cards. My cards are amazing. Do. That's what we call virtual card advantage, boys and girls. So we call virtual card advantage. Gonna get him. Gonna get you drunk off Elspeth's hump. Her humps. check her out. Yep, I can always tell I'm gonna like a deck if it's got a shitty Tron and Valakut matchup. That's a sure sign. It's a sure sign. If you wanna find out if a deck has a bad Valakut and Tron matchup, you should ask me if I like playing it. And if I like playing it, the answer is almost certainly. Would you play Legacy Tin Fin Depths again? Yeah, Gwaithin. I will be happy to add that one back into the queue. Thank you for the bits and the support. I do appreciate it. I think we had a run good league with that deck. We had a run bad league with that deck, but decks that can kill on turn 1 are always a good time. What's going on, Zach? Howdy. Morning. If they have a Liliana here, we're going to be in some trouble. Or is it just annoying like Lantern? So, here's the thing about, in my mind, about decks like Tron and Red-Green Valakut, isn't that they're too strong on a power level scale. My problem with decks like Red-Green Valakut and Tron is that they're oppressively good against the types of decks you should want people to play in your TCG, in my opinion. And this is a super subjective opinion. I think decks like Jund and Jeskai and these kind of mid-range interactive and creature decks, these are the decks that play what I would refer to as honest magic, decks that are trying to like play to the board and have games go long and have players make lots of meaningful decisions. And decks like Red, Green, Valakut, and Tron, while they're very bad against the linear decks, which means they're not oppressive in Modern in general, I think they are very good and they chase decks out of the format that you kind of want people to be playing because they generate what I would consider good TCG games. F. Gator asks, I was hoping to pick your brain on Legacy Miracles for a minute. Based on your experience playing on stream, what cards overperform and which ones are subpar? What's your stance on Mentor in the main or the side? I really just like the Entreat builds. I like the Entreat builds, and I think in general, I'm a big fan of Jim Davis's build that he top-8'd the last Legacy Open with, or 2 Legacy Opens ago or whatnot, where he only had 1 non-basic and a bunch of basic lands. I think being able to play a buck ton of basic lands in Legacy is a huge upside. So, I'm a big fan of any deck that gets to play a bunch of basics in Legacy. And you get to play back to basics in that deck too, which is nice. Card to steal some games for you. Mardu Pyromancer is fun to play. A lot of the decks that like get to go long and draw a bunch of cards and like play, games that last in like the 9 to 12 turn range, I find most of those decks very fun. They're just, in general, not good against Valakut Titan or Escape or Tron. What happens on the 18th? We don't know. So a couple of the people that donate significant amounts of money to the stream have been coordinating with other people that donate various amounts of money to the stream, and they're getting together and they said they're doing something on the 18th. What is happening on the 18th? I have no idea. Genuinely don't know. I'm gonna find out with the rest of y'all. On June 18th, my life will be changed forever. That's all I know. All I know is that on June 18th, my life will forever change. They left me Mana Leak, huh? Is it silly to just smack them for 4 here? They're at 10, right? From all these Thought Seizes. I'm just going to smack them for 4 and then play the Serum Visions post-combat. I'll apologize ahead of time. We played your Mardu list yesterday, Fleckmister. Should be up on YouTube. That means some reach and they could potentially be dead. All of these cards are very good. Huh. It's probably just a top, right? If a deck was previously at the top of the queue and then no longer is in the queue, it's a good idea to check the YouTube channel. A fair bit of experience playing TCGs, both counting the sheer number of TCGs you played and the hours you spent doing it. What do you think is the most blatant miscreation WotC has left loose in Modern, and why is it Dryad Arbor? We can't have Green Sun, Zenith. It is interesting. So, I didn't bring in Purge for this game because we didn't see any black creature lands in game 1, but they have Shambling Vent, Creeping Turbid, and Celestial Colonnade in their deck. The sideboard was okay, Fleckmister. The only glaring thing was I wasn't a big fan of Rebel Master. As always, you can, if you like flip to the end of the video, you'll be able to see my thoughts on a little wrap up segment. Flash this back. Flash this back. Flash this back. Flash this back. Flash it back. Flash it back. Flash it back. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. God bless you, opponent. God, there's a Snapcaster Mage on top of her deck. And he is gonna make the gods very angry. Very, very angry. What game do you think should not be I think talking about things like that is silly. I think like, sure, you could argue that fetch lands make for boring loading screens and like they make mana too good and stuff like that, but like Wizards of the Coast isn't reasonably going to ban fetch lands. So in my mind, like talking about could they or should they is kind of silly. It just feels like wasted energy to me. Feel like we could just spend time working on things that could actually like bear fruit as opposed to worrying about things like that. What their new Eternal format would look like. Maybe. There's a good chance their new Eternal format isn't going to have a lot of thought put into it either. I think I'm just passing here. I think there's a good chance that, like, this Colonnade can't go the distance. Help a dude. I got you, Wee McGee. Hope your morning gets better. Welcome. What happens if an unstoppable force hits an immovable object, right? Kova Bro, you should look at the deck list on your screen, and you will find that your question is answered. Also, this is card for card a deck list that went 7-1 at the Invitational. Someone asked me to just play Jeskai with Teferi in it, and there were 2 different Jeskai lists with Teferi in it that went 4-1 at the Invitational. Or 7-1 at the Invitational. I would like to leak your mana. Please and thank you. Well, now we don't have a lot going on, so let's play this, let's activate this, and let's hopefully kill them. Where would you suggest an Eternal format? I would really like, I think, if they created a new Eternal format, if it started with Origins. I'd have to double check the timeline, but I believe Origins was after Cons, right? So I don't want Cons block in my new non-rotating format because I don't want fetch lands in my new non-rotating format when they make it. But I think Origins has a lot of sweet designs in it. I think they have another Lingering Souls here. We're going to be in trouble. Could I add democracy points to strawberry shortcake? Of course, ginger cakes. Thank you for the bits. I appreciate it. So they're still dead to this brutality here, even gaining 2. Wasteland. I appreciate. Can we just stop and appreciate for a moment the guy whose Twitch handle is Delver Guy wants Wasteland and Force of Will in their new non-rotating format? Can we just stop and just like crack a smile about that, because that's very fitting. Wasteland and Force of Will are shittily designed Magic cards that create awful games of Magic. The only reason you are conditioned to think Force of Will and Wasteland are necessary cards is because the things that those cards prevent are more offensive than they are. Wasteland is responsible for a majority of these shit games that happen in Legacy because one player just doesn't get to play fucking Magic because of Wasteland a good deal of the time. No, I think carrying forward standard bans is stupid. I think it's a big part of why we have so many cards banned in Modern that shouldn't be banned. I think format of power level of cards is format contextual, and that it's going to vary depending on what other cards are in the pool. Force of Will helps protect obnoxious things just as much as it helps prevent obnoxious things, by and large. Look at a deck like Sneak and Show. Yeah, I agree. I think unbanning Jason Bloodbraid Elf was a good thing for Modern. It was a good indication that Wizards is hopefully going to do more of that in the future. I'm gonna fetch Shock a Steam Vents here and just dig for some more lands. This is a control me. I really just want to hit like our first 9 land drops. And that being said, I want to hit my first 9 land drops. So this is, am I supposed to double bottom here? I think I'm gonna double bottom here since I guaranteed my first 4. There's a lot of lands in our deck. Do you in favor of a format that started Modern then removed? I don't think creating big extended is something I'm interested in. Players like non-rotating formats because they know when they pick up a deck, even if it's not going to be as competitive as the day they built it, unless that deck's really oppressive and gets banned, they can take a break from Magic and come back and still have that deck that they enjoy. Did the Lingering Souls deck just rest in peace us? I just want to confirm that the Lingering Souls deck just rest in peace us. Alright, yeah, you know, I'm still gonna cast Think Tank here. I think Think Tank is worth resolving, but I would just like the record to reflect that the Lingering Souls deck, yes, resolves. If they have turn 3 Liliana here, that might pressure us out of the game. Man, look at the power creep on this. Just like, ooh, God, we are about to get fucked. Anger of the Gods, anger of the Gods, anger of the Gods. All right, well, we're dead. We're dead. It doesn't matter that they have rest in peace in there. On June 18th, your life will change forever. Until then, this will be the last donation you receive from me. Oh, the cult, she grows. Steady as she goes. Geist is very good in control mirrors, I agree. And again, like, these are... I think Jeskai is a very good deck. I think it has a lot of tools to compete with a lot of Modern, but there's lots of random tier 2 and tier 3 decks in Modern, and your cards aren't always going to line up well into them. And that's just a risk that you have to take and accept if you're going to play a deck like this. Shocking changes the clock if I want to shock again, or if they add more power to the table. Alright, well. I've got one Anger of the Gods in my deck. We'll play to that out. By that I mean this is going to get counterspelled and I'm going to die. We've played lots of iterations of Jeskai on this stream before. You can find all of them on my YouTube channel. Well, that's an okay draw because it means Supreme Verdict isn't out now too. So we have 2 outs in my deck now. We have Supreme Verdict. JMP! No, you've defected to the cult. Oh no! Oh no! No sweepers here. You're not wrong. They definitely appeared to... I was worried today was going to be 4 2-hour leagues, but if we just get dumpstered here, it doesn't really matter. Maybe we'll play 5 decks today. The queue's kind of deep. I wouldn't mind playing a 5th deck today. My only out is a sweeper. Why would you play into my sweeper more? I guess this is good against engineered explosives. Anger or verdict, please. Anger or verdict, please. Okay. Okay. All right, that's we won a game in that league. We won a game. Again, I definitely think we lost the second game in the first match to Lantern Control because I misassessed my role and played the wrong card on turn 2. And Red-Green Valakut is just a miserable matchup. And that game 3 in that Esper matchup, our tools didn't line up well into what they were doing. I even hedged something like Geist and Lingering Souls a little bit by leaving in a Verdict, an Anger, and an Engineered Explosives, but we had a handful of counterspells and Lightning Bolts and Teferi's and couldn't interact with the Geist Sink Draft. And again, playing a control deck by and large is just hoping that your answers line up into their threats. This control deck tends to be a little bit better. This control deck tends to be a little bit better than blue-white control and stuff like that because you can be a little bit more proactive with Snapcaster Mages and Lightning Bolts, but some of the time that's just not going to be good enough for you.